It's all part of us. We can all choose love. It'll lift you up if you let it in. Let the healing begin.
In kindergarten, I always remember that they were always telling us, keep your hands to yourself and be kind to others, and always keep your hands to yourself. So I feel like that they really drove that phrase into like the kids' heads, and that carried on through elementary, and I feel like it just continued through middle school and high school, and I feel like that made a change in the way that the students communicated with each other or they felt around each other. So I feel like in a way it kind of limited their interaction like physically with each other, because they were always, I guess, afraid that they were going to get in trouble from touching others, and I feel like it limited the way students interacted with each other, like physically, like giving hugs or pats on the back or just handshakes, I guess, with each other or the teachers and other faculty around school. So I feel like that really made an impact on the way that students interacted with each other.
I think just the connections and like the relationships, that's what is important, and that's how it can help, because it can form such more strong relationships in classrooms with both teachers and students and students and just overall. I think like I've experienced kind of both. Like I have teachers that I can walk in and go and give them a hug, and I think we talked about like eye contact and just that kind of thing, still being super supportive. So I think that touch in classrooms with teachers is like, it kind of just varies. It varies for kids and it varies for the teachers, because I myself am a very huggy person. I want to be hugged and I want to share affection with other people, and then I know teachers that are like that, and then I know teachers that are not as much like that, but they can still show compassion by doing other things and whatever works for them. So I think it's really important and just impactful for when teachers kind of talk about themselves and gain comfortability, I guess, with the classroom. So like teachers who talk about themselves on the first day of school, when they kind of introduce themselves, and not just introduce themselves with a name, but kind of give a little bit of background on who they are, because I think it helps students kind of realize that, you know, they're a person too. And
my parents raised me very kind of touchy-feely, like they were always hugging me, they held me a lot. When I came home, I would say, "Mommy, can you hold me on the couch?" And so that was very important to me. The connection that I feel with people it's really indescribable, just because, I don't know, it's a really good, I guess, stress reliever, I guess. You can kind of feel like the warmth flowing through your body in a sense. Like there's not a whole lot of words that can describe it, but it's really good for, I don't know, probably self-esteem in the long run or something. But when I joined the Livermore High School Theater, that may have also played a part in building my relationship with the others very quickly, because that group is very touchy and feely together. And I don't know, again, if it was just because we were all together for 3 hours a day and that we just kind of started doing that, or it was because, like, you know, we're all touchy-feely, we like to touch each other, and that was, you know, that built our relationship. It probably was a little bit of both. And like with one of my good friends, we go up to each other, instead of greeting each other with like a hello, we'll like lace our hands together kind of like this and kind of shake it back and forth, which is a very unique thing that I have with just her. Definitely with the whole like sexual tension in place, there's a need for consent, and I guess for me, when relationships have built for so much time, that kind of builds consent in the sense that you know each other, two people know each other so well when their relationship is older, that consent is more implied than explicit. And so I guess earlier in the relationship, with anybody, there's a necessity for, I guess, verbal communication. I'm trying to think of a good example that would show. Like one time, I was visiting the University of Puget Sound, and one of my friends that I got to know because we were living together for the night or whatever. It was like an overnight experience, but I was not super close with him because I had just met him that morning, and he kind of, the relationship, I feel like we thought we were on different levels of a relationship. So when I left, he kind of leaned in for a hug. I was like, okay. Because I mean, like, it felt good because I was like, I guess we're close, but I was kind of like, I'm not at like that best friend level yet, so maybe there was like not misunderstanding, because I mean, it was a hug, it wasn't the end of the world, and I was like, you know what, this is actually very pleasant. But there's definitely like an implied consent with people that you meet over time, and then there's also like, kind of verbal communication kind of at the beginning of a relationship. It's more important.
Well, for me, like growing up, I wasn't really, how do I say it, like my parents weren't really loving to me. Like they didn't really show me affection. So in a way, like school was like an escape for me because that's where I found that like support I needed. That's where I found like that reassurance, like you got this, you're okay, even if it just came from a friend giving you a hug, or like teachers like just a pat on like the back or something. I feel like that really like reassured me, and that made me want to keep going and not give up. When I'm with like my Hispanic friends, like when we see each other, we just like hug or like pat on the back or something, but it's mostly hugging. So I feel like that's really like impacted me, because I like, even with like when I see my teachers and stuff, like immediately I just want to give them a hug just because I'm that comfortable with them. And also like just expanding it outside. So like even if I really don't know this other like Hispanic person, I feel like I can just give them a hug because I feel like we all just come back from the same background.
As a team, everyone has to do good. You can't just rely on one person to do good. So once the whole team wins, then everyone's really excited. Like you can have a good game, but your team can lose, and then everyone's sad still. So within like the touch, you still, like, people still be like, oh, good game, but you can still tell that everyone's upset about losing because nobody likes to lose. And so especially if you do like lose, then everyone's usually upset, but everyone's still like, we'll give you a high five or hug you. But when you do good as a team, I feel people are more excited than when you do just good as an individual, because you know how much time like you put into that team, into the other people on the team, and then everyone's really excited and everyone's hugging each other. Yeah.
It's all part of us. We can all choose love. It'll lift you